I got a text from a great client of mine, Heidi Lanford. Heidi, I hope you're listening.
Hi,
and
Heidi.
She was like, and she said, I love the podcast. I'm not a realtor, but I find this super, super interesting. And we love getting that kind of feedback from our clients. But I asked her, I said, Heidi, if there's any topic you want us to dive into or anything, we'd love to hear it. And she had a really good topic that we're going to talk about today.
Good.
And it's about working with friends, realtors working with friends.
I like it.
So a little bit more of the backstory there. So when I called her up because I got this as a text, so I called her. And I said, well, what's going on there? And she's a repeat client. We've done a lot of business together. And she said, well, my dad told me a long time ago when I was young, he said, be really careful if you're going to go into business with friends because you need to be willing to lose that friend if you do that. And so she said, you work with a lot of friends. How do you manage that and go through that? And that's what we're going to talk about today.
This is a great topic because a lot of agents, when they're just getting into this business, they struggle with this because of the pushback that they get from their clients. This would be a great one to go through. Rock and roll.
Okay. So it was great when she asked that question, and I thought a little bit about it. And I said, the thing you have to remember here is that when you hire me or a realtor that's a friend, we're not going into business together. You're hiring me for my services.
Yes, that's a good one. Say that again, because that's a really powerful statement.
Right. So we're not going into business together. You're hiring me for my services. And I gave her the analogy. I said, let's say we were friends and I owned a restaurant and everybody was saying it's a great restaurant and they want to go there and they love the food. But we're friends. Would you not go and eat at the restaurant?
Yeah, that's a good one. That's a very good one as well. Yeah, if you know that person's solid, why wouldn't you use them?
Yeah, if exactly. So I think that's, one great backstory, great advice from Dad, because if you're going into business together, you have, and we talked about that too, that element that, if you're going to go into business together, it usually doesn't end well for somebody because either somebody's going to want to depart or somebody's going to die, and it doesn't, at the end of the day, like the partnership fails, right?
Right.
Somewhere.
Okay.
So,
dirt naps.
I know. So I think that's a big part of it there is that, what we got going.
So I would, so go ahead. Well, I was just going to say, so the big picture is there's three real main things that come to mind when we're talking about this. You want to talk about those three?
Absolutely. So I think it goes back to the evaluation of a realtor when you're making that decision to go with them. And I think this is a great segue into the friendship piece.
Right.
I think when you're deciding, when a client is deciding on selecting a realtor, it really comes down to three things.
Yes.
Can you trust them? Are they good at what they do? And do they care about me? Those are the three key variables. Yeah. And I know we've heard that a lot at Buffini conferences. And I always go back to that. Can you trust? Are they good at what they do? And do they care about me? And if you're working with a friend, two of those three, you should have a pretty clear, intimate answer on.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And you can even ask them questions. Like if you're the consumer, you're the friend, I'm the friend, you're the realtor. I would just ask you questions about that. How can I know I can trust you? Or what are things that I can see that would show me that I can trust you? Or this is a great outline for an interview with your friend as the realtor.
Right. And I think that if they're a true friend, you probably have a pretty good indication on the trust and the care piece already, right?
Correct.
But you can do that. I know what I would recommend if it was me and I was working with a friend and I really know their character over a period of time, I'd hone in on the "Are you good at what you do?" piece, because that's the more business in and out.
Yeah, and
the other two take care of themselves.
They do. They do. And especially if you're a friend with them, those things are already going to be intact. So what kind of questions would you, or what responses would you have? I'm putting you on the spot. Would you have for someone if they said, are you good at what you do?
Yeah, I think that's a great question. So there's a number of things that I point to, and I think it's smart to point to and to bring out. First of all, I always say, what's the reputation with other agents?
Very
I think
good
that's
one.
a really good one to hone in on. And you can ask that question of another. Say, hey, I'm thinking about working with Ed. What do you think of him? How they answer that question is gonna speak volumes, right?
Yes.
Away. Do other agents like working with them?
Yep, that's a good one too.
Do they have a do they have a reputation of being a fair broker and doing things the right way? I would be evaluating their market expertise. Do they know their stuff?
Right. Can I throw one in?
I'm just going to go through. Yeah, please do.
So
because we're just talking here.
Yeah, two dudes talking.
That's right.
One of the things I do with work in my time that I've worked with friends is I have friends who I've done business with let my other friend, maybe even from different spheres, call them and say how, without me involved, and have them be able to ask the direct questions. Were you treated professionally? Did you have any issues? Is there anything that you would change? So that they can actually go to a source. And I normally give them 3, so I don't know who they're going to call. And that has worked beautifully. But if you don't have that and you're just starting, the things that you're talking about too are amazing.
Right. No, but I think that's a really good one, is like give them some. It's like, hey, here's some personal references of friends. Give them a call.
Right.
Ask them anything that you'd like to ask.
Yeah. Well, that's good.
But again, going to skills, I would want to hone in on their conflict management. How do they handle conflict?
That's a good one.
I used to, one of my old saws I used to say about being an agent is that a lot of people that get in the business say that, they love it because they love houses. And I would say, well, you better love conflict, because that's what the business is really about, is managing conflict and keeping everybody moving forward. So I think that's a biggie.
I will say managing personalities.
Look at me, more direct than you. That's funny.
There you go. All right. Negotiation skills
like
too is a good one.
Yeah, I think that's the most referred skill statistically that shows. So I think you want to be able to demonstrate that. And that's, again, when the rubber hits the road, that's really a lot of what we're getting paid for, is to get to the finish line and to negotiate that, to keep everybody on the same page and the larger goal and moving forward. So I'd want to be honing in on that. And I think maybe a softer one, especially in this market, is, are they life learners?
Yeah, that's a big one.
I think that's really important,
Yeah.
Because if it's like, hey, I've been doing it this way for 100 years and it's the way I do it, I miss the old books and, this MLS stuff. I'm, well, I don't know. That's not what you want. You want somebody who's trying new things and thinking outside the box and understanding that the market's always changing.
Yes, constantly.
It's a new market every day, and they're going to experiment and try stuff and test and really aim to serve you. And that comes from a life learning attitude.
Yeah. There's something on here that, and I don't know if it actually belongs in our, this piece of the pod, but I will share with you an experience that I had with a very good friend who has bought and sold with me several times. And in our last transaction, she was really upset with the seller. And she felt that she was wronged. And in a sense, and because I'm so entrenched in this job, I didn't see it as a wrong, but it didn't matter because she did. And the seller was not going to compensate her for what she wanted. And so I wrote her a check. And I remember when I wrote the check, I actually put it into an envelope, sealed it, gave it a kiss, and said, I'm never going to think about this again because I didn't think it was the right thing to do. However, it doesn't matter what I think is the right thing to do. We as agents are in business for the client, not for us. We're the conduit that holds the two pieces together, in my opinion. And so if this person wasn't my friend, I would have 100% written the check. Why would I ever even think of not writing it? Because she was my friend. And I didn't. I just did it. I took care of it. I took care of business. That is something that shows that I can work with friends who are my really close friends and people I've just met today. And that's, something you have to ask yourself. Can you do that? Because if you can, then you're going to be an incredible agent for your friend.
That's right. That's 100% right, which is, you take that when you're making those decisions, you pull that out and say, hey, how would I treat anybody in this situation? Right. And do that. And you're doing the right thing and moving it along.
Absolutely.
And again, I think, it's a missed opportunity if if they have a friend that they really can trust and they know they're competent to not move forward if they can.
Yeah. Yeah. And ultimately it's their decision. But when you have someone who's extremely good at their job, just like your story about the restaurant, of course you're going to eat at the restaurant. The restaurant's amazing. If your friend is a realtor and they're amazing at what they do, then you do it.
Yeah. I'll tell you, we had one other discussion point on this. I'm going to kind of circle back, which was when Heidi asked the question, I said, well, the thing to also remember is this is a project-based engagement.
I love that. Yeah.
And it has a deadline. Yeah. So like we're setting the terms on this. And I tell all my clients that it's like, hey, if we get into this and you say, hey, you're a great friend, but you're kind of a crappy realtor, I'm going to let you go and it's going to be fine.
Yeah,
right?
exactly.
So because that's just, that's what you do. You're not going to, you're just going to move forward. And so it's a project that has a start and a literally defined end date.
Yes.
And it's okay.
Absolutely. And it is okay. I love that. It's a project based with a timeline. And do you tell your clients that they can fire you at any time?
Yes.
I do the same thing. Yep, absolutely. I don't want to be in relationship with someone who does not want to be in relationship with me. And that goes both ways. And I always say that to them. If I feel like I can't serve you in the way you need to be served, I'm going to let you go. And that's something you could tell your friends too. Hey, this is getting to a point where I don't think I can do a good job for you. It's time for me to step out and I can give you some referrals or you can go find somebody on your own or whatever. It's just,
Yeah. Yeah. Same talk track. And it comes from the heart. It's like, hey, if you're not happy, what am I going to do? Like, no, you got to be miserable for 4 more months with me until we're done. We both really hate each other.
Yeah.
So with that, I think that, so Heidi, thank you so much for such a great question.
I know. I love that you had her ask you a question. I wish my clients would ask me questions. Hey, everybody, ask Jefi a question.
There you go. All right. We'll see y'all.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.